Sonic has a lot of games. Over the years, there's been a lot of characters to be introduced. The one I'm going to talk about today is somebody that has been introduced for a while, the being known as Knuckles. Based on Sonic's name, you hear the name Sonic, Super Sonic. His name's Sonic. He's known for speed, while the character known as Knuckles is known for his muscle, even though he's still fast though. Look at most depictions of Sonic next to Knuckles. Most of the time, Sonic has fists, but Knuckles are bigger and more bulkier. He's known to be, you see the spikes in his knuckles? Like, that's what he's known for. The live action movies, which I love, by the way, depict Knuckles as a more bulkier type being, so it kind of makes sense. He's known for his great strength of the group, even when all the other people are in the same content. He's the strongest character of the Sonic series, and it's very consistent. Packs a powerful punch. I mean, it's even outright stated via translation that Knuckles is not only a martial artist, but in terms of strength alone, he can even beat Sonic and Shadow. So it lets you know he's the bruiser, a muscle of the group, stronger than even the speedsters, physically and just pure strength. Said to be as strong as Sonic is fast. So whatever his speed he might lack against Sonic, that strength makes up for it. You know what I mean? Let's analyze Knuckles, since we know Sonic is a beast. First off, I would like to say when it comes to fighting speed or just running speed in general, even though Knuckles isn't slow, I would definitely say Sonic has the advantage. He's known to be the fastest narratively speaking, but that doesn't mean Knuckles and them can't compete. That means they're fast enough, if that makes sense to you. I mean, just because somebody's faster doesn't mean they're not fast enough to keep up with you. It's kind of like the Flash and Superman situation. Like, we know the Flash is faster than Superman, but Superman's fast enough to keep up, if that makes sense to you. That's kind of sort of the situation with Knuckles. Sonic is faster, but Knuckles is so fast to the point where even if he is faster, Knuckles is fast enough to keep up. To the point where Sonic just can't blitz him and it's an easy fight. Yeah, he's fast, like making the after images. Yeah, he's fast just in running raw speed and stuff, running on water, stuff like that. Like, notice how Sonic is running here ridiculously fast, Knuckles being one of them on aircraft. And notice how Knuckles doesn't need the aircraft because he simply jumps off the aircraft and starts running next to Sonic. All of them with super speed. Cutscenes. Knuckles, Sonic, and the crew will even race each other from time to time. Different games throughout the years have shown lore. They give you a little deep dive on what he can do. He can dig holes and climb cliffs with his knuckles, with the spiked knuckles. Example of him climbing here, for example. He can literally climb in the lore, not just gameplay stuff. He also has the ability to glide, one of his versatile abilities, something not every character has. That's what he's unique when it comes to gliding. You got an example of him gliding here, for example. He's a powerful Echidna, guarding these these emeralds and stuff in his universe. It's like a common theme. They literally say in the lore, like I've already said, he's Sonic's rival. That's why you see in certain games where they literally face off against each other. There's certain instances where he can make his fist large and punch. Could be just a game thing. He's one of those characters where, just like other characters in this universe, there's implications. They get stronger as time goes by. Because there's stuff in his lore that confirms, in this particular situation when translated, that he has well-trained fists. In the Sonic Rivals manual, they even talk about it, about how Knuckles is known for his strength, like I've already mentioned in this video, and martial arts skills, so he's actual known for training hand-to-hand wise. Often uses his rock-hard fists to get the advantage over his enemies. That's probably why you see him do uppercut punches and stuff like that. Because everywhere you look, it's like a common theme for him. Like how they talk about how he's the bruiser of the bunch. Here, they talk about he's a martial arts master. It's constant. I mean, wouldn't Sonic know? I mean, Sonic and Knuckles have had their fair share of fights. Showing also that Knuckles can keep up with his speed kind of too. In these same games events, the same thing applies for Knuckles about him getting stronger via training. The whole crew just getting stronger over the years. This version of him is like about 100% chance of being above his previous self, even though his previous self is still strong. Whatever this him can do, this him can technically do better. Just like how Sonic does, Knuckles can do this too, rolling up into a ball, spin dash. Just like other characters do, he can punch you with his fist or just roll up into a ball and plow through enemies that way. Like, you know how the main character Sonic can produce blue orb type energy, Knuckles technically has his own form of energy manipulation, kind of in the form of fire. He can generate fire on his own without no amps. Even in the newest games, it shows this fire type of kinesis when he does punches and combos. It's even implied here with the flame manipulation around his fist in the newest game. So there's definitely implications he can still produce flame. There's superhuman physicals going on in this universe. You can kind of get an idea of Knuckles' raw muscle strength by other characters and what they can do with their physical strength. We can kind of assume that Knuckles can do better because he's known for his muscle strength. Not just speed, he has speed too, but he is known for his muscles. So whatever some of these other characters that are known for their speed can do, when it comes to muscles, we can kind of assume Knuckles can do better with muscle. Right? Knuckles, just like the rest of the crew, can push open the jaw of these large alligators. Notice how he's the one that in the group that can literally toss Tails and Sonic around with his muscles just slinging them. And this is stuff nobody pays attention to, him lifting big giant boulders bigger than his own self. Not to mention we always see him carrying this huge emerald. Of course, this was a team effort, but you see how Knuckles is portrayed to be larger. Like, let's all agree that Knuckles probably was the one doing majority of the work when it comes to this feat of them stopping this train. But all of them have super strength, of course. But yeah, Knuckles pretty much proved it here to help he's one of the 4 to help stop this train with physicals. I see no reason why he wouldn't be able to lift a car over his head. They can freaking stop a train working together. Knuckles probably doing majority of the work. You know, I would even go as far as to say he can lift several cars over his head, can lift hundreds or even thousands of tons. I mean, he can lift things many times his size. It's just obvious. Don't you agree? Now, when it comes to how hard he can punch, there's a few reasons why he can punch hard. He can punch hard because of his superhuman muscles, his fighting training put together, and one could argue his punching power could be crazy because of his raw speed, because you know speed is weight. The faster you punch, the harder you hit. And he can imbue his fist with flames. Like, I'm talking about fast in the traditional straight line speed to where he can run from point A to point B real fast. Boy, he can run fast and react to the stuff that's coming at him at these ridiculous speed. Combat speed wise, like his eyesight can perceive stuff way better than other people can. That's combat speed reactions. Like, it's even in narrative about him being this fast. Knuckles the Echidna, the only fighter that matches Sonic in speed and strength. This is apparent about how Sonic can't just easily blitz him. He can move just like Sonic can from point A to point B. Notice how in all the games he's always right behind Sonic that's full-blown sprinting. His strength is unmatched, although he's a tad slower than his counterpart. They said a tad, meaning the gap isn't large. So if we just look at how this universe is built, I know it might be hard for some of you guys to comprehend this, but yeah, Sonic is faster. If we assume Sonic can go way past the speed of light, like I've already talked about before on the channel, Knuckles being a tad bit slower, like this game says, he would by default be able to run at light speed or fight at those speeds, I would say similarly. Just like how Sonic is way faster than the speed of light, Knuckles has to be by default way faster than the speed of light. Like, it just makes sense for him to have combat speed. That's probably why he's able to ram and break through ice with ease, because he can hit hard and fast. Big structures like these, he can punch. Punching Sonic in the air. That high in the air. His fists have weight. Big, huge boulders. He can hit that far. Can make the ground shake with his strikes. Use Sonic and Tails as boxing gloves to punch stuff. Busting up machines and robots, breaks boulders. He opened up the road for them. All these boulders, yeah, there's got to be hundreds or even thousands of tons of boulders he can just punch through. Not to mention breaking boulders apart like this is more impressive when you break them versus you actually moving them. This off gate pretty much proves he could punch away more than hundreds of tons of force if we're being honest. I mean, it makes sense. He's constantly fighting big mech type things, if I'm being honest. You can break this many rocks with your punches, especially ones larger than your whole body, solid, with just fist punches alone. It would sort of be strange if you could make a building fall. Yeah, so Knuckles can definitely make a building fall over with his strikes, or quake an entire building, or make it fall like this with just his punches. I mean, it makes sense with his lore, with everything combined with his muscles, strength, and speed, because I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I keep bringing up Sonic. It's for a reason. Sonic has actually literally outran black holes with his speed. And the speed term, light speed, is constantly being mentioned when it comes to talking about Sonic's speed. There's even evidence that suggests that light speed is a joke to Sonic. Sonic even saying light speed, that's small time, meaning he's way above light. So by default, yeah, since we know Sonic's way faster than light, he can go beyond the speed of sound in raw speed, and it's literally confirmed that Sonic can go faster than the speed of light. And when it comes to comparing Knuckles' speed to Sonic, they say that even though Sonic got the speed advantage because Sonic's the speed demon of the group. Oh, for those that are wondering, Sonic can actually hit hard thanks to his speed, because speed is weight. But yeah, they say Knuckles is a tad slower. So by default, Knuckles has to be in that light speed range. If Sonic's way above light speed, being a tad slower, I don't think they mean when they say a tad slower, they mean he's speed of sound level at best. You know, being able to move at light speed for Knuckles, that could explain why he can partly hit so hard. I mean, there's YouTubers that are smarter than me and you combined when it comes to doing calculations in math that have calculated what it would be like if a 99% the speed of light punch, not light speed punch, but what would happen if a 99% the speed of light punch happened. It was in the Superman, what if Superman punched you video. This can kind of get you an idea of a bare minimum of Sonic lore being his punches. Even if we assume they're under light speed, 99% speed of light would still be a ridiculous amount of force. This should apply for Knuckles, meaning not only he can level buildings and destroy them, collapse them like this picture, for example, but being extremely disrespectful, Knuckles hits should technically even be like a nuclear bomb or way worse, as this being disrespectful, honestly. Just give me an idea of what Mount Everest is compared to the biggest buildings. It lets you know the differences in size of mountains, the width, the thickness. It's astronomical. You gotta remember, these buildings are actually got hollow points where people can be in it. This is just straight solid rock. You know what I mean? Knuckles, being a nuclear punching juggernaut, basically, would by default have the raw punching power to technically be able to shape structures like this, or just straight up delete them with his punching power, shatter them. Like, that's the type of punching power we're talking about. Even if we assume he's under light speed, which he's not. Not to mention in his lore, it's confirmed that Knuckles can hit so hard it can match Sonic's light speed attack. So all this stuff just makes sense about him being able to delete mountains. I mean, he can match light speed attacks with his fist punches and stuff. There's even some evidence to suggest all this stuff is still a joke. But you see how Sonic flinched when he was in super form right here? Like, this actually has lore and meaning behind it when it comes to his punching power, Knuckles. Knuckles and Sonic have faced each other while Sonic being in his super mode, by the way. This is impressive because, you know, super modes astronomically increase everything about you, your durability included, and Knuckles is implied to be able to knock him out of his super form with a strike. In the newer game, that's probably why Sonic flinched right here, because he remembers that pit, that Knuckles can hit that hard. Super Sonic, like, you know, when he's powered up by these emeralds, is ridiculously durable. It takes a ridiculous amount of force to even damage these beings. So for Knuckles to even knock him out of the super form, that's kind of crazy. So it lets you know it just takes a ridiculous amount of force. They're not completely invincible, but they might as well be invincible. The fact that Sonic and the crew are always fighting beings that are a threat to the multiverse or universe, even literal planet-sized things they have to fight. I just want you guys to get an idea of what I'm talking about. It's not easy knocking these beings out of their super forms. Super forms are way above their base forms, by the way. Sonic even says it. I can't take him on like this, but I can do it as Super Sonic, so it's implied that Super Sonic's way above his base state. Just to give you an idea of what these emeralds and stuff can do, these type of things can like split the world into 7 parts and stuff, like just one emerald and stuff like this. So a feat like this can't be overlooked when Knuckles can do this with his striking power. Even Sonic knows it. That's why he flinched from hits like this. It lets you know, like, even in his super mode, how strong Knuckles could be. Like, I want to make something clear. I'm obviously not trying to say Knuckles in his base state is above a Super Sonic or a super mode. I'm just wanting to give you an idea. For you to even be able to damage a mode like this, even if the smallest degree, when they're apparently supposed to be indestructible, it just lets you know how strong Knuckles' hits are heavy, how heavy his hits have to be. I'm going to get back to this, but yeah, and these super forms are durable enough to withstand ramming into celestial planetoid bodies this large, like literal planetary moon type things that can break apart with their durability, withstanding all that recoil. So I think it's pretty much confirmed. I mean, just one emerald can like split a big continent or continent tectonic plates and stuff. These the type of stuff all these characters, yeah, so it's definitely pretty much confirmed. Not only can his punches quake cities, based on him being a threat to the super form to some degree, even if you want to say he's 1% of the super form, that would still be enough power to pretty much level quake multiple continents, if we're being honest, because the super forms, oh man, they can kind of get way worse than I just already told you already. They're way above planet shattering levels when it comes to raw power, super forms and stuff. I'm just being disrespectful, being a bare minimum right here. Like, I know it might get repetitive, me bringing these up over and over again, but it's important to understand their power with this. Like, there's beings like this being, for example, that was getting powered by the emeralds. Plenty of beings that have gotten powered by them, of course. This is not the first time or the last. This relates to base form Knuckles because, narratively speaking, in a mission, Knuckles can literally harm this being with his punches that was getting powered up and constantly stronger by these emeralds. In his base state, Knuckles was doing this. These beings, like, are powered by these chaos emeralds. The more emeralds, the more energy or power it gets. Even stated here, powered by Chaos Emeralds. I don't have to keep reminding you what Chaos Emeralds can do I? Being able to move pieces of the planet like this. And these are the type of beings Knuckles is boxing it out with. This would imply that even if I don't want to say he's equal to the full power of the Chaos Emeralds, he's fighting beings powered up by this stuff. And we saw what the Chaos Emeralds can do to planets like Earth. Just a little example of the Chaos Emeralds. They've done greater stuff, but I'm just giving you a small example for right now. Being disrespectful, even if we want to be disrespectful to Knuckles, like there's other planetoids that are different sizes. If he's battling beings that have the raw energy of Chaos Emeralds powering them up, and this is how big the Earth is compared to the moon, wouldn't it be fair to say smaller planets, just by default, logically speaking, knocking super form beings out of their super form in his base state, it would make sense for his hit to be similar to that of smaller planetoids like a moon-sized structures, being able to quake it with his punches, having the punching power to shatter it with the weight of his swings, his fist swinging, will be able to crack a planetoid, large structure like this with his hits. It kind of adds up with the lore of him fighting these beings that can easily destroy planets, or planets bigger than the moon-sized structure at the least. But the longer this video goes on, the more you're going to understand this is definitely still lower end technically. Like, according to the lore, when it's translated, this being that Knuckles is battling was able to absorb a blast from the final egg blaster. This is a rough translation, of course. I did this myself. Some of these words ain't right, but stuff like this, like final egg blaster, that's correct. Yeah, this being Emerald was just constantly getting strong, getting too much energy, to the point where he was getting unstable. Like, this is the type of stuff Knuckles and them have to compete against. Absorbing energy from the final egg blasters. You see Emerald, the being that Knuckles was battling, right here in this same scene. This is the type of energy this being had to absorb, like the energy that can mess up stars. The stars, more than one star got destroyed. So do you see why Knuckles boxing it out with this guy is impressive? I hope you see that. He's boxing it out with things that can absorb enough energy and get that power for themselves that can mess up not only Earth, but stars themselves. I mean, you got another occasions like this being known as Chaos, who are powered up. And these are the type of beings Knuckles has to box it out with, powered up by Emerald type beings. Emeralds enhance their durability. Chaos 2, the more, like, they call them the different numbers. Chaos 1, Chaos 2. Like, that depends on the emeralds that he has currently. And Knuckles can battle these beings. Just to show you more evidence of it, like Knuckles, just the crew in general, but Knuckles literally be fighting a higher version of the same being that's powered up by Chaos Emeralds. You guessed it. He's in his base form. You see what I mean when I was saying continent splitting or continent destruction, continent quaking was a joke? Because there's implications that not only can he quake the moon, even bigger planets like the Earth, but even larger planets like Jupiter or Saturn, he could technically quake or shake if he can battle beings that can blast with star-shattering energy or have star-shattering energy within them. Because we know how big certain suns can be compared to Jupiter, either some being similar size if they're a smaller star, but some can get even bigger. All this light speed stuff starts adding up when you think about they can punch, these beings like Knuckles and Sonic can punch at light speed. Structures that make Jupiter look small. Knuckles is competing with beings like this, threatening super forms, knocking beings out of their super forms. Like, it kind of makes sense. You're still not convinced somehow that Knuckles is a beast? What if I told you there was an even greater version of this same being that already could mess up stars and stuff, or absorb the energy of stars and produce that type of energy, or is powered by that similar energy of Chaos Emeralds? Like, I know this isn't a part of the video game continuity, but like, it's a common theme. Like, even in other media, they portray Knuckles being able to slugfest with this being. But yeah, in the game's lore, they actually show Knuckles damage this being, even though he has Eggman technology on top of his strength. Like, Knuckles is striking these beings a better version. So if this version of him that was powered up is weaker than this version, so you know it's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna get back to his base form in a minute, but yeah, I gotta go over it because it's relevant to his character. Knuckles has super modes, of course. You know, you got your base form, which I really like to focus on the most. You got Super Knuckles, which is basically like his own version of Super Sonic, basically. I mean, they're literally powered by the same stuff. Because, you know, everybody and their mother in this universe has to get powered up by this stuff at one point, right? And then we got Super Knuckles and Hyper Knuckles, which look very similar to each other. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, but whatever Super Knuckles can do, Hyper Knuckles can technically do better, because one is powered up by the Chaos Emeralds and one is powered up by the Super Emeralds, and Super Emeralds are superior in every way. Because when other characters like Sonic use the Hyper mode, they kind of give us lore and background on the power levels of them. And they talk about the same way how Hyper Sonic is more powerful than Super Sonic. It should apply for Knuckles. Hyper Knuckles should be superior than Super Knuckles, right? Same concept, right? Why wouldn't this apply for Knuckles' super form and hyper forms, right? Hyper Knuckles don't really got no screen time anyway, so the same stuff I basically showed base form Knuckles doing, this form can do better. It can do the same stuff or better, even with more versatile abilities. Like when it comes to his punching power in his super mode, just like how there's implications that his base form can destroy planets, battling beings that are powered up by Chaos Emeralds. If Knuckles in his base state can battle beings that are powered up by these emeralds that can cause planetary destruction, what do you think Knuckles' power is going to be like when he actually has this power? He's obviously a planet buster in this state too, just like his base state. Same with being able to quake stars. The same stuff you're used to, but just on a higher degree. So Chaos Emeralds, you know, I shouldn't have to talk about his durability. Knuckles already has some good durability in his base, but of course his base is amplified with these Chaos Emeralds. For the most part, these super forms make you dang near almost immune to all forms of damage. It takes ridiculously top tier beings to harm these beings in this super state. You know, like beings like the End, for example. Like these super forms usually don't get harmed, but it just takes a lot of force to harm them. So they're dang near invulnerable. This being known as the End in the newest Frontiers game is just one of the few beings that can actually harm this super mode, though. I mean, this being's like a cosmic being that's infinitely stronger than beings that can threaten the multiverse. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense. So, for the most part, they really are indestructible, but it takes multiversal entities to damage this stuff. Oh, that brings me back to Knuckles being able to... Oh, remember how I showed you earlier? How Knuckles, in his base form, was able to make a super form flinch with his power of his punches? Or, like I showed you earlier, him knock Sonic out of his super form in his base state. So what do you think Knuckles' super form can do? Just like how Sonic can do chaos control in his super state, Knuckles should be able to do that too. Meaning that Knuckles should have some sort of reality warping. To get a true understanding of the Chaos Emerald's might via reality warping or whatever, there's beings in this universe. Via translation, Part of the reason why some of these beings were able to even do stuff like this, and like I'm talking about erasing time itself, universes, are because of these chaos emeralds. The reason why these beings are even threatening multiple universes, helping them complete their forms, like Solaris, for example. No, I'm not playing. You literally see here, the chaos emeralds are literally part of the reason why he was able to get his form. This part of the reason why this being was able to threaten multiple universes and timelines. That's how overpowered these Chaos Emeralds are. Yes, this being that was using the Chaos Emerald's power to complete his form was going to erase all existing timelines. The time itself would disappear into nothingness. And this is the type of stuff Super Sonic and Super Knuckles are powered by, like these emeralds. So this kind of stuff should apply for Super Knuckles. This destroying timelines, multiple universe gets destroyed type power.
Time is just one dimension of reality. Within the endless possibilities of space, there could be an infinite number of other Sonics out there. When it comes to the multiverse, anything is possible.
This universe is confirmed to have a full-blown multiverse, so saying Super Knuckles or Hyper Knuckles can only destroy the Earth is kind of disrespectful. They're empowered by emeralds or stuff that's apparently have limitless type power to threaten multiple universes and stuff like that. I mean, there's even fun little cutscenes that talk about Knuckles being in his super mode. Knuckles like pretty much confirmed it here. Like, things would have been faster if I was Super Knuckles in his super mode. So it's like implied that super modes can do the same. So just like stuff like this, super modes can fly, reality warp on a universal scale, or even affect multiple universes. All of this just makes sense. The same overpowered being Super Sonic in battle, like the Phantom King in their super modes, it just makes sense for Knuckles to be able to do similar because they literally have the same type of power up. It just makes sense for the lore. Like, they're constantly fighting beings that are a threat for the universe or multiple universes, like Phantom King, for example. Phantom King type of beings, thanks to the Phantom Ruby, the thing that's powering up Phantom King and stuff, Phantom Rubies can make stuff that are closed off. I'm talking about null space and stuff. A closed off space where absolutely nothing exists. You can create dimensions that go on forever with this Ruby. Like, this is the type of stuff these super beings have to compete against in power. This is the type of raw energy they can produce. So in all intents and purposes, like, watch this video on top of my Sonic video to understand, like, there's different layers of infinity, blah, blah, blah. If you have infinite power, there's other beings that have higher levels of infinite power thanks to higher dimensionality and all that weird stuff. Yeah, I kind of want to go back to the base form stuff now, but you kind of got an idea what these Sonic people always have to face no matter what. I know I keep bringing this up over and over again, but we've seen Knuckles make a super form flinch, and you guys remember the famous knocking him out of the super form feat. That kind of lets you know what base form Knuckles is capable of. Like, put it in perspective. Like, if these beings have infinite power, and like this is rough estimations or guesstimations because it's really hard to pinpoint where base Knuckles range is. But if these beings in their super forms or hyper forms can devastate or recreate multiple universes, timelines, compete against beings with that similar power, Solaris, it's just too many occasions of it. Even the newest one, the End, this super powerful being in the latest Sonic Frontiers game, the End was apparently infinitely stronger than the previous foes they've ever faced, like Solaris, beings that are threatening multiple timelines. It's hard to imagine a base form character being able to knock a super form out of their super mode, considering how durable these beings are. But you gotta remember, Knuckles and Sonic, the whole crew gets stronger throughout time, get stronger each game. And even if we assume that Knuckles is nowhere near this by an astronomical gap, which it is an astronomical gap, even if we said he was 1% of the power needed to blink out multiple universes, 1% of that would still be enough power to wipe out universes. You see what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, you gotta respect his raw power and might. It would still imply he's above planet shattering, solar system quaking. His fist would have the weight of multiple galaxies falling on you by default. Even if, like, divide infinite power, like the Chaos Emeralds have infinite power, divide infinite power by 1,000. That would still be enough power to tremble multiple galaxies. You see what I'm saying? So even him being astronomically weaker than the super forms, that just kind of still shows how impressive he is still. And considering the fact he can damage or knock beings out of their super forms, which is kind of crazy, super forms apparently make you apparently indestructible. Let's do some more math. Let's just assume the super forms don't have infinite power. Like, just to give you, I'm trying to give you a perspective right quick. Yep. Let's assume a super form can only mess up one universe, which is really disrespectful. We know super forms can fight beings that are a threat for multiple universes, but let's be disrespectful real quick, just to give you a perspective on how strong Knuckles has to be in his base state. If we assume that the universe is finite, if we assume a super form can only wipe out 93 billion light years worth of planets and galaxies and stuff, or recreate that kind of stuff, let's be disrespectful real quick, all right? If we just was disrespectful and assume Super Knuckles can only affect a finite sized universe and recreate it, destroy something like this with his raw reality warping and stuff like that, because he has Chaos Emeralds, he can do chaos control, reality warping type stuff. If we assume he can only do a finite size of 93 billion light years, even if we assume that base form Knuckles is 1/1000th. I'm talking about less than 1%. Less than 1% of the Superform's power. If we just assume that base form Knuckles can do 1/1000th of that, just being mean, even though we've seen him knock Superforms to their base forms though. But so if we assume that this Knuckles can affect 93 billion light years with his energy or punches or whatever, and we assumed he's 1/1000th of that, that would still be 93 million light years. There's 2 trillion galaxies within the observable universe. You guys see the numbers, right? You see how being astronomically weaker than this form doesn't really make him weak, if that makes sense. Like, regardless of how you look at it, even if he's 1/1000th or a millionth of his strength, he would still technically have the swinging power equivalent to messing up multiple galaxies in his base state without counting super forms. And this is me ridiculously lowballing the universe, making it seem like super forms can only affect one universe that's finite. This is being disrespectful, guys. I'm just want you. Knuckles is knocking super forms out of their super forms that have limitless power. But I'm being disrespectful here to let you get a perspective on how basically underselling him doesn't really change his power. Like, he'd still be able to swing with heavy force based on the beings they always constantly have to fight. He can run at the speed of light faster than the speed of light, punch at these speeds. He has muscle. He's confirmed to be the strongest of the group. All these Sonic people are always fighting Chaos Emerald powered beings, things that have limitless power. It just makes sense for his punches to feel like the weight of a whole galaxy falling on your face or multiple galaxies falling on your face. It just gets ludicrous. A robot Sonic duplicate, Mecha Sonic Knuckles. This being can literally get powered up by these infinite power type gems and become super. And Knuckles can still clap this being in his base form, y'all. Let that sink in. This can really put in perspective how strong these characters are even in their base state. Even though this stuff does amp up these beings, he's fighting powered up beings in his base state. But what do you guys think? How strong do you think Knuckles is in his base state? Do you think he's only strong in his super form? Do you think he's only a planet buster at best, which is ludicrous? I want to hear your thoughts below. You do not want to get hit by a being that's fist or this heavy. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. It helps out a lot. Respect Knuckles the Echidna, base form or super form. Super form, he's basically a multiversal cosmic being, reality warper. But yeah, respect him. Thanks for the donations, folks. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.